Emily Harris had not been home in 35 years. She came back only to sell her dead sister's house. She did not plan to visit old streets. She did not plan to remember old promises. And she certainly did not plan to walk into the cafe where she once dreamed of building a life with the boy she loved. But rain started falling. So Emily stepped into the nearest place with warm lights and the smell of coffee. Then she opened the menu. And there it was, written in black ink, between blueberry muffins and cinnamon rolls. Emily's apple pie. Her name. Her recipe. The dessert she once made for Jack Miller, the boy who promised they would open a cafe together. Emily looked up slowly. Behind the counter stood an older man with silver hair and tired eyes. Jack. He did not recognize her. But when she ordered the pie, his hands froze. Because for 35 years, no one had ever asked for it by name. The town of Fairview looked smaller than Emily remembered. The streets were narrower. The houses seemed closer together. Even the church bells sounded softer, like time had taken the sharpness out of everything. Emily sat in her rented car outside her sister's old house, watching rain slide down the windshield. Her sister, Carol, had passed away 3 weeks earlier. They had not been close in the end. Not because they hated each other, but because life had placed miles, pride, and old family pain between them. Carol had stayed in Fairview. Emily had run from it. Now the house belonged to Emily, and she had returned with one simple plan. Meet the lawyer. Sign the papers. Sell the house. Leave before the memories found her. But memories do not need permission. They were waiting in every corner of the town. The grocery store where she once bought sugar with Jack. The old movie theater where they held hands in the back row. The small bridge where he kissed her for the first time and said, "One day, we'll have our own place. Coffee in the morning. Pie in the window. You and me." Emily had laughed then. She had believed him. At 26, people still believe love can survive anything. At 61, Emily knew better. She stepped out of the car, pulled her coat tight, and walked down Main Street. The rain grew heavier, so she hurried under the awning of a cafe. She almost kept walking. Then she saw the sign. Miller's Café. Her heart gave a small, painful jump. Miller. Jack's last name. But that was impossible. The Jack Miller she knew had married someone else decades ago. At least, that was what Carol told her in a letter long after Emily left. Jack had moved on. Jack had forgotten. Jack had done what men often did when promises became difficult. That was the story Emily had carried for 35 years. Inside, the cafe was warm and golden. The windows were fogged from the rain. A few older men sat near the counter drinking coffee. Soft music played from a small speaker. The place smelled like cinnamon, butter, and fresh bread. Emily stood near the door, frozen. It was exactly the cafe she and Jack had once described to each other. Wooden tables. Blue curtains. A chalkboard menu. A little shelf of used books near the window. Her throat tightened. A young waitress smiled. "Just one?" Emily nodded. The waitress led her to a small table by the window and handed her a menu. Emily opened it without thinking. Then she saw it. Emily's apple pie. For a moment, the whole room disappeared. Her fingers tightened around the menu. It was not just the name. It was the description beneath it. Warm apple pie with cinnamon, brown sugar, and a little lemon zest. Just like she used to make. Jack had always teased her about the lemon zest. "That's your secret," he used to say. "One day, people will come from 3 towns over for that pie." Emily looked toward the counter. An older man was pouring coffee into a white mug. His hair was silver now. His shoulders were broader but slightly bent with age. His face had lines that had not been there before. But Emily knew him. Jack Miller. 35 years older. Still alive. Still here. Still standing in the dream they had once planned together. The waitress came back. "Ready to order?" Emily could barely speak. "I'll have the apple pie." The waitress smiled. "Emily's?" Emily swallowed. Yes. At the counter, the coffee pot slipped slightly in Jack's hand. He turned. Slowly. Their eyes met. He did not recognize her. Not fully. But something in his face changed. As if a door inside him had opened and a memory had stepped out. The waitress called toward him. Jack, 1 Emily's apple pie. Jack stared at Emily. Then he whispered, almost too quietly to hear. No one orders that. Jack brought the pie himself. The waitress looked surprised, but she said nothing. He placed the small white plate in front of Emily with careful hands. The slice was warm. The crust was golden. A little scoop of vanilla ice cream melted slowly on top. Emily stared at it. 35 years vanished in the steam rising from that plate. Jack stood beside the table. Coffee? He asked. His voice was older, deeper, but it still carried the same gentleness. Emily nodded. Please. He poured the coffee, then did not leave. For a few seconds neither of them spoke. Finally Jack said, You're passing through? Emily looked up at him. In a way. You from around here? She almost told him. She almost said, Jack, it's me. But fear stopped her. Not fear of him. Fear of learning that the past meant more to her than it ever meant to him. So she said, I used to be. Jack nodded slowly. A lot of people used to be. Emily looked around the cafe. This place is beautiful. His eyes softened. Thank you. Have you owned it long? 32 years. Emily's hand stopped near her coffee cup. 32 years. That meant he opened it 3 years after she left. Not with her. Without her. Jack noticed her reaction. You okay? Yes, she said quickly. I just like the pie. For the first time, he smiled. It was someone else's recipe. Emily's heart twisted. Someone important? Jack looked toward the window, where rain traced silver lines down the glass. The most important person I ever lost. Emily could not breathe. Jack continued. She used to make it when we were young. Said the lemon made people remember it. Emily looked down at the plate. Did they? No, Jack said softly. But I did. His words landed gently, but they broke something open. Emily took one bite. The taste was exactly the same. Cinnamon. Brown sugar. Lemon. Home. She blinked back tears. Jack saw them. I'm sorry, he said. I didn't mean to upset you. Emily shook her head. No. It's just very good. He gave a sad little laugh. She would have liked hearing that. Emily looked at him carefully. What happened to her? Jack's face changed. He pulled out the chair across from her, then stopped. May I? Emily nodded. He sat down slowly. Her name was Emily. The room seemed to grow quiet around them. She was smart, Jack said. Stubborn. Funny when she didn't mean to be. She wanted to leave this town, but she also wanted to build something here. We planned this cafe together when we were barely old enough to pay rent. Emily tried to smile. And then? Jack looked at his hands. And then she left. Emily's chest tightened. Just left? That's what I was told. By who? Her sister. Emily froze. Jack did not notice. Carol came to see me 2 days after Emily disappeared. She said Emily had gone to Chicago. Said she needed a bigger life. Said she asked me not to follow. Emily's voice was barely a whisper. And you believed her? Jack looked up. No. That one word broke her. I drove to Chicago 3 times, he said. I called every number I could find. I wrote letters. They came back. Then one day, Carol told me Emily was engaged to someone else. Emily closed her eyes. Carol. Her sister. The sister who had written to Emily saying Jack had married a waitress from the next town. The sister who had always believed Emily needed to stop dreaming and become practical. The sister who had taken care of their sick mother and resented Emily for leaving. The sister who had kept both of them apart. Jack kept talking. I thought maybe she was happier. That's what I told myself. I thought if I loved her, I had to let her be happy. Emily opened her eyes. Did you marry? Jack smiled without joy. No. Why? He looked at the menu on the table. Because some people leave, but they don't really leave you. Emily's eyes filled. Jack pointed gently to the menu. I put the pie there when I opened the cafe. People asked about it, but almost nobody ordered it. I kept it anyway. For 32 years? He nodded. Taking it off felt like admitting she was never coming back. Emily's hand trembled. Then she said quietly, What if she was told you had already moved on? Jack went still. What? Emily looked at him through tears. What if she left because she thought you didn't want her anymore? Jack's face lost its color. Who are you? Emily could not hide anymore. She placed one hand over the name on the menu. I used to be Emily Harris. Jack stared at her. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then his eyes filled with tears. No, he whispered. Emily nodded. It's me, Jack. The cafe around them faded. The rain outside kept falling. And the man who had kept her name on a menu for 32 years finally reached across the table and touched her hand. Jack did not ask any questions at first. He simply held Emily's hand, as if she might disappear again if he let go. The waitress saw them and quietly turned the sign on the door from open to closed. No one complained. Maybe some moments are too private for strangers, even in a small town. Emily and Jack sat by the window while the rain washed the street outside. I thought you married someone else, Emily said. Jack shook his head slowly. I thought you did. My sister wrote to me. She said you married a woman named Linda? Jack frowned. Linda worked here years later. She was married to my cousin. Emily let out a broken laugh. Carol made it sound like she was your wife. Jack looked down. She came to me too. She said you asked me to stop writing. She said my letters were hurting you. Emily covered her mouth. I never got them. I never got yours either. Emily leaned back in her chair. The truth was not loud. It did not explode. It settled. Heavy and painful. Carol had not destroyed them with one dramatic act. She had done it slowly, carefully, with letters not delivered, messages twisted, and half-truths placed where love used to be. Why would she do that? Jack asked. Emily looked out the window. My mother was sick. Carol stayed. I left. I think she hated me for that. Enough to take 35 years from us? Emily's voice softened. Pain can make people cruel when they never learn what to do with it. Jack looked around the cafe. I built this place because of you. Emily's eyes returned to him. You did? He nodded. At first, I built it out of anger. I wanted to prove I could make the dream real without you. But after a while, it became the only place where I could still talk to you. Emily cried then. Not loudly. Just quietly, with one hand over her heart. Jack stood and walked behind the counter. He came back with an old tin box. He placed it on the table and opened it. Inside were photographs, old receipts, and a stack of unopened letters tied with blue string. Emily recognized her own handwriting. My letters, she whispered. Return, Jack said. Every one of them. Emily picked one up. The envelope was marked with an old red stamp. Undeliverable. But the address was wrong. One number off. Carol had given her the wrong address. Emily opened the letter carefully. Jack, I don't know why you stopped calling. I don't know what I did wrong. But if you still love me, please tell me. I am tired of being brave alone. Emily. Jack looked away, but she saw tears on his face. I never saw that, he said. I know. He opened one of his letters. Emily. Carol says you don't want to hear from me. But I can't believe that until you tell me yourself. I still have the cafe plans. I still have your recipe. I still have the ring. Emily looked up sharply. The ring? Jack reached into the tin box and pulled out a small velvet pouch. Inside was a simple gold ring. Not expensive. Not grand. But real. "I bought it the week before you left," he said. "I was going to ask you to marry me after your mother got better." Emily touched the ring but did not take it. So many years sat between them. Marriages. Deaths. Regrets. Different lives. Different versions of themselves. Jack seemed to understand. "I'm not asking you anything," he said. "Not today." Emily smiled through tears. "Good. Because I don't know how to answer." He nodded. "I just wanted you to know. You were not forgotten." Emily looked at the cafe. At the blue curtains. The wooden tables. The chalkboard menu. Her name still written there after all this time. "I spent 35 years thinking I was easy to replace," she said. Jack's voice broke. "You were the reason nothing ever replaced you." The rain stopped just before sunset. Emily stood to leave, but Jack walked her to the door. Outside, the street smelled clean and new. "Will you come back tomorrow?" he asked. Emily looked at him. She could have said no. It might have been safer. It might have been easier. But she had spent too much of her life choosing what hurt less instead of what mattered more. "Yes," she said. Jack smiled. "For pie." Emily smiled back. "For the truth." Emily did come back the next day. And the day after that. At first, they only talked. They did not pretend they were young again. They did not rush into promises. They did not try to erase 35 years with one afternoon of tears. They talked about the lives they had lived. Emily told Jack about her marriage, which had been decent but never full of fire. Jack told her about the cafe, about lonely Christmas mornings, about keeping her pie on the menu even when customers asked why it was there. They talked about Carol too. Not with hatred. With sadness. Carol had died carrying a secret that had hurt everyone, including herself. 1 week later, Emily went to her sister's old house and found a box in the bedroom closet. Inside were letters. Jack's letters. Every one Emily had never received. At the bottom was a note from Carol, written before she died. "Emily, I was angry when you left. I thought you were choosing love while I was left with duty. I told myself I was protecting you from a small life. But the truth is, I was punishing you for having a dream. I am sorry. Carol." Emily brought the box to the cafe. She and Jack read the letters together, one by one, until closing time. Some made them laugh. Some made them cry. Some were too painful to finish. When the last letter was read, Jack stood up and walked to the chalkboard menu. Emily watched as he wiped away the old words. For a moment, her heart tightened. Then he picked up the chalk and wrote, "Emily's apple pie, back by popular demand." Emily laughed through tears. "You can't write that. Nobody demanded it." Jack turned to her. "I did." For the first time in 35 years, Emily felt the past loosen its hold. She did not sell Carol's house that month. She stayed. Only for a while, she told herself. But soon she was helping Jack in the cafe every morning. She baked pies. He made coffee. Customers came for breakfast and stayed for the story no one fully knew but everyone could feel. Months later, a young waitress asked Emily, "Is this really your recipe?" Emily looked at Jack across the room. He was laughing with a customer, silver hair shining in the morning light. "Yes," she said softly. "But he kept it alive." That evening, after the cafe closed, Jack placed the old gold ring on the table between them. "I'm still not asking," he said. Emily smiled. "Good." Then she picked it up. "But I might be ready to answer soon." Jack reached for her hand. And this time, no one stood between them. Because sometimes love does not return the years you lost. But it can still come back in the smell of coffee, the warmth of an old recipe, and a name someone refused to erase. Sometimes the heart does not need a perfect beginning. It only needs one honest place to start again. If this story touched your heart, Subscribe for more emotional stories like this.